If I start telling people about hell, I might just scare them off. Where are you going to scare them off to? Hell number 2? Or are you just going to sit there and let them burn?
Hi, guys. Can you hear me?
All right, there you go. All right, yeah.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for having me on the program.
Oh, grateful to have you. So, Rory, I know, me and you went through the book this morning, and even though we didn't complete everything, it was a great read. And we see a whole bunch of conspiracy going on in the background, mixed with some, occult stuff. So, Sheila, if you want to take it away.
Yeah, that book really was a compilation of really a career full of, I was one of the top-level environmental consultants at the Environmental Protection Branch, and really working for high-level government positions, you really kind of get into the bowels of what this green agenda really is about, and I certainly was privy to a lot of information that really woke me up, and so it was a real, a culmination of not just my career, but it was also really, I was fusing a lot of different things, and my mother had actually become a quadriplegic 48 hours after getting a vaccination, never moved her body, became like Christopher Reeve, never moved her body again, and it was really quite something. So I started doing some research about 10 years ago on vaccinations, and then it springboarded into depopulation, and I sort of started really connecting all the dots of how the octopus of this thing has many tentacles, and I went down a lot of rabbit holes to get this. So it really is really quite a compilation, and I'm just really pleased to hear that you guys had a look at it, and it really is quite the book, and there's really nothing like it that gets into the underbelly of this green gospel.
You are absolutely right. I have been looking at, or the Lord has led me to look at a lot of these things that I see in the book. Some of the things I find fascinating is how you were able to put all the pieces of the puzzle together.
Yeah, I really do connect the green puzzle pieces, the green tsunami of globalism, as I call it. And there really is a lot of, there's so many, again, it's tentacles. I call it a big green octopus. It really is this massive green tsunami of all these different things tied together, and I'm really excited to get into that on the show of what is entailed in this, certainly this green theology.
Yes. So let me ask you this. You told us briefly why you started digging and what happened. So, and I sort of look at everything from the Scripture. Where do you think it began in the Scripture, in the Bible?
Well, this whole green gospel, and again, it's so interesting. We have that parallel of the gospel. I called it the green gospel because that really is a term to describe this religious environmentalism. It's from saving the planet to Agenda 21 and 30 to going green, all these terms like eco-friendly, carbon neutral, the EPA, global warming mantra, all of it. Shutting down the fossil fuel-based industries, shutting down coal factories, all this stuff reverting us back to wildlands. What all of this is really about and how this ties into Scripture is it's really pantheism. It's really the most ancient forms of pantheism that really dominated the Grecian, Babylonian, ancient eras. And this is modern day absolute paganism. It really is pantheism, worshiping the creation rather than the creator is really what it is.
Wow, absolutely. When I look and just by what you spoke about, I was brought back to when God gave man in Genesis, tell them to go out and be fruitful and multiply. And they said, no, we're not going to do that. We are going to do this. We are going to build this structure. And men today in their heart, they are turning away from God and turning towards this so to speak green gospel where it goes down so many rabbit holes, like you said, dealing with Agenda 21 and all these other mess. And what I find is a lot of people are jumping on this bandwagon, and they don't know the truth.
Indeed. Looking at this whole concept I had to go back and start looking into some of the entertainment aspects, and we could probably get into that later. But this is being propagated all over the spectrum of entertainment, and it's been like that for a while, since the 70s, I think. Or maybe, Sheila could correct me if it's been, before that.
Actually, you'd be surprised. Yeah, it actually is before that, but that's a very astute point that you made, because slowly over the last several decades, we're really being acclimated like a frog in the boiling water to this green agenda. And where it actually started, really where I get into it in the book, it probably really started at Nimrod, probably. The Moabites, the Ammonites, but again, those religions that really, the paganism that dominated the Greeks, the Babylonian Empire, the Egyptian empires. But I'll tell you where I kind of get into it in the book, because, you could write a 1,000-page book, and no one really has the attention span to want to read that. So I really wanted to do this book for Joe Lunchbox Carrier, Joe Sixpack, and not a scientific book. And the reason that I started sort of at Karl Marx and the Communist Manifesto, because that really sort of was the springboard. We went from Karl Marx, and of course later in the show I'll develop more of how we got to it today. But then a pivotal thing happened around the 70s. There was a character named Maurice Strong. There was a Rio summit that happened in Rio de Janeiro, a big climate conference. That really kicked things off around 92. But Hitler actually was, believe it or not, we're talking about the 30s now, Hitler was really into the green agenda. He was actually a total pantheist, which is really interesting. And it's very, I talk about this in my book too, how it was very much, Hitler actually really was, he literally worshipped nature. He was just fascinated with creation. I talk about that in my book. So we kind of go from Karl Marx to, some of these neo-Malthusians. I'll talk a little bit about Thomas Malthus and Paul Ehrlich, and then John Holdren really picked it up. Obama's handpicked science czar. I call them the Marxist twins. Him and Ehrlich actually wrote a book called Eco-Science, and this is straight from the pit of hell, this thing. And this is a frightening thing, is churches don't even get it. Like, they're all running around saving the planet with their smart cars and their eco-friendly recycling bags, and this is all a part of it, frighteningly.
Yeah. If you like our videos, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to get all our frequent updates.